From Wish TV, this is a News 8 special 2020, an unprecedented year.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this News 8 special.
We're looking back at 2020, a year almost none of us could have imagined when the calendar flipped to January 1st.
A year where the Indianapolis Motor Speedway sat silent and empty for Memorial Day weekend. The Indianapolis 500 threatened with cancellation for the first time since World War II.
Hoosiers around the state urged to stay home to stop a pandemic like we hadn't seen in a century.
And calls for action to correct injustices that have existed since our nation's birth. We start tonight with that pandemic. In January, it seemed unimaginable that a virus we had only heard about in China would soon impact all of our lives.
A mystery virus in China is infecting dozens of people. Health officials say there are 59 cases of a pneumonia-like illness that was first spotted in central China.
It was in early January when the world first learned of the coronavirus.
Scientists in China say they have pinpointed a main cause of a pneumonia outbreak. They say it's a new coronavirus.
From China, the virus quickly spread. On January 21st, officials confirmed the first case on U.S. soil.
A new virus that has killed at least 4 people in China, now in the United States. The first case was discovered in Washington State. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention now starting to screen everyone at major airports coming from that region of China.
By March, COVID-19 had officially reached Indiana.
We're here today to announce that Indiana has, in fact, received its first case of coronavirus COVID-19.
The spreading pandemic quickly impacted Indianapolis events.
That breaking news, the NBA is suspending its season over coronavirus concerns.
In from the NCAA, they are canceling tournament play. Men's and women's basketball canceled. This is probably unprecedented.
And led to the closure of schools across the area.
I have directed the Marion County Public Health Department to work with all 13 school systems within our county, as well as mayoral-sponsored public charter schools, to close our public schools beginning next Monday.
And later in March, a statewide order to stay at home.
I've signed another executive order that calls on all Hoosiers to hunker down. Stay at home.
State officials say more than 7,000 people have died from the virus. For thousands of others, the virus has meant days or even weeks in the hospital. News 8's Julia Dang has one such story.
Are you happy to be home?
Yes, I'm so happy to be home.
For more than 40 days, this was home for Leslie Fogel.
31 days on the ventilator.
The Carmel nurse became a patient after she believes she contracted COVID-19 at work. Her daughter, Meredith, talked to News 8 about their pandemic nightmare in April.
It's really scary.
And then in May, when loved ones surprised Fogel the day she was released from the hospital. Now, with her tracheostomy tube out, Fogel is speaking for the first time about her ongoing recovery journey and the moment she first realized she had COVID-19 in late March.
I knew when I was short of breath, I'm thinking, this is it. I've got it. But I never thought I would end up on a ventilator.
At one point, doctors told her family she might not make it.
They actually were talking about my funeral.
But there were signs of hope. Fogel says an X-ray tech spoke to her when she was sedated because a song about courage was playing in her room.
Tears started streaming down my face, she said, and I put my hand up.
She doesn't remember any of that, but her condition eventually improved, and she does remember what a nurse said to her when she woke up in time for Mother's Day.
Good morning. Thanks for waking up finally. And I'm like, they told me it was May.
She may have lost more than a month with her family, but she has gained new perspective.
I totally feel like I was given a second chance at life, that my work on earth is not finished yet.
That was Julia Dang reporting. Vogel urges Hoosiers to keep wearing masks and practicing social distancing to help keep themselves and their loved ones safe. Restaurants, bars, and nightclubs have been heavily impacted by the pandemic. In March, Governor Eric Holcomb restricted restaurants to takeout and delivery only. Bars and nightclubs closed completely. In the months since, countless restaurants have been forced to close their doors for good. Those that did survive have gotten creative. Some restaurants have turned dining rooms into neighborhood markets. Others have installed igloos to keep serving customers this winter. Restaurant owners say they're doing everything they can to keep their doors open.
I think it's kind of relieving for people. We've had a lot of guests come here that have said they haven't been out in months and saw this set up and felt really comfortable with it.
What we've kind of seen is if people are going to go out and they're going to take the risk, they want to do it for a purpose. It needs to be an experience.
In September, a survey from the National Restaurant Foundation found 2 out of every 5 Indiana restaurants believed they will not still be around in 6 months if business conditions stay the same. In early May, Governor Holcomb announced a plan to slowly reopen the state. The plan included 5 stages. By the end of the summer, the state had relaxed most of the restrictions originally put in place back in March. That included allowing restaurants to serve customers indoors again and allowing larger crowds at gatherings. At the time, the governor and state health officials said data would drive decisions on how to reopen.
As life starts to slowly return to that new normal, making progress towards being fully back on track will require constant vigilance from all of us as we lift restrictions and more people return to work.
State officials have since moved away from the Back on Track plan, now using a county-by-county approach. Governor Holcomb issued a statewide mask mandate in July. It applies to all indoor public spaces, including businesses and schools. From a protest at the State House to arguments at stores and restaurants, mask mandates haven't sat well with everyone. The statewide mandate followed others issued in Marion County. Many national store chains also started requiring masks over the summer. The fall brought Indiana another surge in COVID-19 cases. In early December, Governor Holcomb issued new restrictions on hospitals and social gatherings to help curb the spread. Hospitals need to postpone or reschedule non-emergency procedures. Crowd limits are based on how bad the outbreak is in each county. All 92 Indiana counties have seen increases in COVID cases this fall and winter. Treating the high number of coronavirus cases is presenting challenges for area hospitals.
Still a very hard and painful time, forcing people to make difficult decisions, and unfortunately, I think all too often people are making decisions that put them at risk and occasionally suffer fatal consequences as a result.
After nearly a year of worry and misery, a sign of hope. This is video of the first person in Indiana getting the COVID-19 vaccine. The state health department says the first doses of the vaccine were administered at Parkview Health in Fort Wayne on December 14th. The vaccine arrived at IU Health Methodist in Indianapolis a day later. More than 200 frontline healthcare workers there received the vaccine when it arrived. Austin Timpany didn't get the vaccine, but his mother did. She's a physician, and for him, the vaccine means his mom is safe doing her job.
It's encouraging. It's months after months of going through all of this, COVID, masks, and finally we're seeing the end of it.
More than 20,000 healthcare workers in Indiana have registered to get the vaccine so far.
Windows smashed, stores looted, fires started, days of riots and demonstrations in downtown Indianapolis and around the country. The movement behind it all and the push for change when we come back.
Welcome back to our News 8 special 2020, an unprecedented year. This year we watched new calls erupt for social justice and an end to systemic racism. It started with 3 all too familiar words. I can't breathe.
8 minutes and 46 seconds, a time that became a catalyst for change for so many people. George Floyd, under arrest, suspected of using a fake $20 bill at a Minneapolis store on Memorial Day. This disturbing video was captured on a bystander's cell phone. Floyd on the ground, an officer with a knee on Floyd's neck. George Floyd gasping for his final breath.
I can't breathe. I can't move.
I've been waiting the whole time, man.
His funeral was a moment of mourning across the country.
God took the rejected stone and made him the cornerstone of a movement that's going to change the whole wide world.
Demonstrations took place across the United States. Minneapolis, Memphis, Los Angeles, Louisville, where police had killed Breonna Taylor inside her own home in March. It started discussions that became headlines about police reform, about inequality, about systemic racism, and also right here at home. Black Lives Matter groups held peaceful protests at Monument Circle in support of Floyd and his family, and demanding changes in how police treat Black Americans.
Right now, as a Black man, I go out and I fear for my life every day. And every day that I make it back home, it's a blessing because I am Ahmaud. I see myself in Floyd. I see myself in Sean. I see myself in Trayvon. And every day the list continues to grow. We realize that, you know what, COVID-19 may be the pandemic, but the real problem here is racism.
May 29th, those protests gave way to 2 nights of violence downtown, dozens of arrests and injuries, and millions of dollars in damages.
It's difficult to put into words and paint a picture of how rapidly things devolved and turned from peaceful gathering to riotous criminal mischief behavior.
Then Monday, June 1st, we witnessed an extraordinary scene unfolding live on Wish TV. Hundreds of protesters marched to the governor's residence, leading to a standoff with police in the middle of Meridian Street. Tense seconds, then minutes, passed, leading to an unexpected moment. Police and the protesters started walking together.
I never in a million years thought I would embrace a cop like that.
2 groups joined as one and walked in solidarity, advocating for change. That month, Wish TV launched We Stand Together. Our goal, provide a voice to help spark change in Central Indiana to fight racial injustice. Step 1 was partnering with Eli Lilly and Company for an Indy Day of Solidarity to begin confronting racism head on.
I'm wearing a black hoodie. I run outside freely because I get a lot of exercise during the quarantine. I can drive my car without having fear of being pulled over. All things I know some of you can't experience. So I'm wearing that today to recognize that.
For us, regardless of color and creed and background and educational level and economic status or lack thereof, when we come together, that's when differences are going to be made. And I appreciate all the hearts and the minds of those with that personal, I'm going to be kind to a black person today. And that's wonderful. We ought to be kind to black people. But it's the policies, it's the systems, it's the legislation, it's the law.
A commitment to change now spreading throughout the community.
The entire world witnessed a human being, life being taken on social media, on these different platforms. We were there when he took his last breath, and it was hard for us to witness that. And then I'll take it one step further. If you're a mother, an auntie, a stepmom, when that young man called out to his mother, it hurt. We all felt that.
I think we needed this moment to listen to the pain, the honest experience of colors of community. I think we need to look in our hearts and recognize when that each of us has an evolution to undergo in eliminating racism in our actions, in our thoughts, in our hearts, and they have an affirmative duty to take up anti-racist policies that will make sure that we the people really truly have equality and justice for all.
Support came from the world of sports. The Indiana Fever standing as a team to declare Black Lives Matter, wearing Breonna Taylor's name on their jerseys.
For everyone to be able to see Breonna Taylor on Natalie Chanwo's jersey, on Candace Dupree's jersey, on any teammate of mine is a reminder that we matter. That also could have been us. We could have been Breonna Taylor, and that we have a lot of work to do, but that as a league and as a players association, we will do that work. Not only will we say her name, but we will ensure that people continue to say her name and make the changes necessary in our communities that we won't have to.
And even canceling a game in August after the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. The Indy 11's Matthew Watson sitting out a game to call for social justice.
I felt like, man, like this is a moment that I need to stand for something bigger than myself, you know? Like obviously it would have been easier to go out and play and not draw any attention to this. And sometimes I feel like, you know, being in a USL team, I don't have a big enough platform to even make it worth it, but like I just felt like I couldn't go out there like everything was normal.
The Colts sitting out of practice and making a public call for action.
We're hurt because we feel the pain of not only our black teammates, but our black community. We understand that we have to use our platform not only individually, but collectively as an organization.
The players were wearing social justice messages on shirts, and just before the opening game, the team locked arm in arm while head coach Frank Reich took a knee during the national anthem.
We thought it was a unique way to express what needs to be done. You know, where someone like myself, a white leader, would kneel out of a posture, not of, as the statement said, not of defiance, but out of humility to acknowledge that some work needs to be done, that we can't leave things the way they are.
More signs of change and progress. Indianapolis shut down part of Indiana Avenue to allow this Black Lives Matter mural to be painted on the street.
This is an opportunity for us to not only reclaim Black Lives Matter as a movement, but also to reclaim the land.
And signs of change, a community beginning to see results. Indianapolis police changing their rules for use of force and policy changes for officers throughout Indiana. Indy's largest corporations taking the Indy Equity Pledge.
We know that black businesses go underutilized. And so we know that there's an opportunity to lift everyone up economically and to address just root cause issues. We cannot afford to lose the momentum and energy that we have today to drive change.
Indianapolis adding Juneteenth and Indigenous Peoples Day as official holidays. And for the first time ever, the state of Indiana named a chief equity and inclusion officer following these words from Governor Holcomb.
Black lives matter, and so do black livelihoods.
When we come back, the year in politics.
From impeachment, an election delayed, to an election disputed, a year of political firsts in Indiana. Welcome back to our special 2020, an unprecedented year. That's certainly the case when we talk about politics, a year full of extraordinary events.
January 1st, Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett takes the oath of office to start his second four-year term.
We've had an increase in the number of homicides in Indianapolis for the last 10 years. I'm pleased to report that in 2019, for the very first time in 10 years, homicides are going down. So while we're not declaring victory, we're going to keep our foot to the accelerator. At least the numbers are trending in the right direction.
Later that month, the nation's third ever impeachment trial of a president begins in the Senate.
The Senate will now hear you.
Democrats calling for President Trump's removal for abuse of power and obstruction of justice. Republicans calling the case flimsy and politically motivated.
I've heard that the case is overwhelming, you know, that they've made the case, and maybe they should have thought about that before they brought it over.
The final vote by senators on February 5th.
It is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby, acquitted of the charges in said articles.
That same week, former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg pulls off a stunner, winning the Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus. Less than 1 month later, March 1st.
I will no longer seek to be the 2020 Democratic nominee for president.
Instead, throwing his support to former Vice President Joe Biden. The coronavirus pandemic would then lead to a statewide shutdown here in Indiana and force the state's primary election to be delayed for the first time ever.
My view on that fast approaching primary election is it needed to be pushed back in order to, again, ensure the safety of our county employees, our poll workers, and the voters themselves.
Voting moved to June 2nd, with every Hoosier given the option to vote by mail. The virus also forced Democrats and Republicans to move their state conventions virtual, and another first, hold them live here on Wish TV.
Welcome to our 2020 State Convention preview. My name is John Zodi, and I'm proud to be the chair of your Indiana Democratic Party. I'd like to start by thanking our partners at Wish TV for the opportunity to beam this convention preview into homes across Indiana.
Look, I'm not perfect. No one is. But like President Trump, I have faced accusations and investigations designed to destroy me politically. Like President Trump, I'm a threat to Democrats and their radical liberal agenda.
The national political parties would follow with virtual conventions to formally nominate Joe Biden and Donald Trump for the general election.
Now, from Wish TV.
In September, Wish TV launched All Indiana Politics, the state's premier show on politics, starting with the 3 candidates for governor.
You don't control this virus. You know, I've said this time and time again that the virus doesn't know boundaries. What it knows is respect for it.
If that is the case and medical experts are recommending another stay-at-home order, is that something you would be open to?
Yes, it would be. We give them the ability to choose for themselves whether they want to sign up to serve in our armed forces. But then we tell them they're not old enough to choose whether they smoke, drink, or consume cannabis. I believe that's inconsistent.
Early voting began in October, with more than 1.8 million Hoosiers casting a ballot before Election Day. And for the first time, more than 3 million ballots cast in an election. Governor Eric Holcomb would win re-election easily. It would be 4 more days before vote counts in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Nevada would lead to projections of Joe Biden as the next president of the United States.
I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you've placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify.
I may be the first woman in this office. I will not be the last.
And another month before top GOP leaders would acknowledge the win. And the president-elect selecting 2 Hoosiers to help run his administration. Ron Klain, a North Central graduate, as his chief of staff. And Pete Buttigieg for transportation secretary, who, if confirmed, would be the first Senate-confirmed openly gay cabinet secretary.
Governor Holcomb has already announced that he will delay his public inaugural ceremonies because of the coronavirus, and President-elect Joe Biden will take the oath of office on the Capitol steps. But his transition team is promising a scaled-back, reimagined version of his inauguration.
When we come back, the year in sports, from delays to cancellations, the impact on teams, players, and their rabid fans.
Welcome back to our Wish TV special as we look back at 2020. While we've talked so much about the coronavirus and politics, there have been several other stories that have dominated the headlines this year.
Please go get me. I'm on 62nd in Michigan.
Streamed on Facebook Live for anyone to see. Drejon Reed driving, trying to get away from police. He finally stops, then runs before being shot and killed by Officer DeJour Mercer in an exchange of gunfire. It happened in early May, but it was not until November we learned Officer Mercer would not be charged. Back-to-back news conferences by a special prosecutor and state police told us why.
Grand jury returned a no bill. This term means there is insufficient evidence to indict or accuse Officer DeJour Mercer of a crime.
What we can say is that, I think definitively we can say that Mr. Reed fired 2 shots at the scene.
Another shooting. This time the victim was an IMPD officer. Brianne Leith, just a 2.5-year veteran of the department. She was gunned down at the Wellington Village Apartments on a domestic violence call. When she and 2 other officers knocked on an apartment door, shots came from the other side and hit Officer Leith. She had been following in the footsteps of her parents, who spent their lives in public safety.
Her nickname was Breezy, and because she was like the wind. I mean, she just was a force. When she came in the room, you definitely knew she was there. I hope her classmates and her shift mates and just everybody, our whole Blue family, realizes how much she loved this job and cherished every moment of it. She was having the time of her life. And it was short, but she made the most of it. She truly cared about the community.
Many also mourn the death of Chris Beatty. The Cathedral High School graduate and former IU football player was shot and killed the same time as the downtown riots. Friends and family say they will remember him for his smile, the way he always looked out for others, and his ability to make everyone feel like family.
Just genuine, and he was the type of person who, when he asked, "How are you?" it wasn't a surface, just "How are you?" in passing. He genuinely wanted to know how you are.
Chris always smiled. He loved life. He loved life. He loved people. Had a lot of friends. Community leader, businessman. And he was even a part-time DJ, because at the Colts games every Sunday I would see him. He's DJing the music on the field for the Colts game.
Early January, a massive fire guts a local favorite. Flames destroy Country Kitchen soul food. The smoke so thick firefighters could barely see the building. The loss left people who live and work nearby stunned.
Honestly, it's devastating. Like, I love this place. I drive by it almost every single day. Like, I honestly don't know how it's going to affect the community, because there's so many people that they affect.
11 months later, in November, Country Kitchen reopens in a temporary location at the Ruckus building. On that first day, some waited in line more than an hour, but said it was worth it.
It's good to see the community come out. It's unfortunate it's a line, but you got to do what you got to do with these times. So I'm just glad to see him open again.
The restaurant owners hope to open in a new building at their original location at the end of next year.
It's been a year of struggles for a lot of Hoosiers, but many stepped up to help those in need. A look at the effort we made here at Wish TV next. 2020 has indeed been an unprecedented year, one that's created enormous challenges in our community. And here at Wish TV, we've been honored to help our neighbors throughout Central Indiana.
As the coronavirus raged across Indiana, we brought together the area's top health experts to answer your questions. We raised money for restaurant workers forced off the job, 175,000 meals for Gleaners Food Bank and our Hoosiers Helping Hoosiers Fund Drive, more than 20 tons of pasta, enough for 133,000 meals in the Great Pasta Push, $99,000 for Thanksgiving dinners for the Moselle Sanders Foundation. And with school shut down, we donated hundreds of hours of free airtime for IPS to broadcast classroom lessons for students without home internet. Our Great Paper Push helped teachers stock their classrooms.
This year, more than ever, with all the changes going on, no matter what takes place, the teachers are going to need our support and the students will need our support.
And honored teachers changing their students' lives with our Golden Apple Award.
We just want to say thank you for all you do for the kids. You are an amazing teacher, and that's why you won this award. We have a special trophy for you, the Golden Apple, and we also have $500 for you just to say thanks for all that you do for the kids.
When the pandemic shut down in-person events, Wish TV stepped in.
This is a Wish TV news special. Indy turns 200. The celebration begins.
Indianapolis, you connect the nation. Your roads were paved by yesterday's change makers, brought to life by generations of doers.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Indianapolis. Girl, you're looking good for 200, honey.
This is your Vote 2020 presentation of the Indiana Democratic Convention.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a historic event here on Wish TV.
Now comes the election of our lives. I didn't think the stakes could get any higher than they already were just over a year ago when I stood here in South Bend and joined the presidential race. But at every turn, it's only grown more and more urgent and important.
Live from Wish TV and the Indiana Republican Party, this is your Vote 2020 presentation of the Indiana Republican Convention.
We'll count the ballots and have a nominee.
Today, clearly a historic day for the party, being held, the convention on a stage like this. How has it gone for you?
I think it's been incredible. The production is way more than I ever expected when I first started this conversation with DeJuan, the owner of the station.
Welcome to the 4th annual Love Thy Neighborhood Awards. I'm Brooke Martin.
And I'm Phil Sanchez. Wish TV proud to help celebrate the incredible people undertaking incredible projects in our community. The Love Thy Neighborhood Awards.
This is the Indiana Latino Expo.
As cries for racial equity and social justice erupted, we joined Lily's Day of Solidarity and launched We Stand Together, Our goal, to give a voice to those who often go unheard.
This is a realization. If I'm not standing on what I preach, they're not going to hear you. So I had to stand on what I believe in, and I care about these people because these are my family, my friends, my own cousins out here. My family and my friends, why do I want to see them get killed over what? Nonsense. And so I want to start opening up the doors for everybody and bring awareness.
This is All Indiana Politics.
We launched All Indiana Politics, and as the election closed in, brought together 2 leading national political leaders to talk issues, not personalities.
The American people are wondering, have we opened a Pandora's box? Is there any way back? What is the answer? Do we have to vote everyone out and start over? Honestly, what is the answer here for our viewers who are wondering, how do we get back to normal?
So, hey, Brooke, can I take that one, please?
Yes, you can, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, you may have to do that. I mean, when you're stuck on stupid.
With limited fan sizes, we've brought you live Indiana high school football and basketball. We brighten the holidays for Central Indiana families with our wish tree, and we've expanded our newsroom to add Indiana's only multicultural reporter, Indiana's only full-time medical reporter, and Indiana's only entertainment insider. Part of our commitment to bring you nearly 80 hours of television news every week.
When we return, a look ahead to 2021 and the launch of a nationwide news network right here in Indianapolis.
2020 has been a very special year for the Wish TV family. Our team welcomed several babies through the year. Brooke welcomed Marlo Lane to the family May 27th. All Indiana host and my partner in crime, Anessa Jumley, welcomed her 5th child, baby Noble Erlin, born at the end of July. One of our top newscast producers, Carla Kreitcher, gave birth to a baby boy, Robert Ian, in June. He's already going by Bobby. Brenna Donnelly welcomed Cedric Daniel on July 26th. Nina Criscolo has her first baby girl to join her 3 boys, Claire Laurel. She was born in mid-October. And Storm Track 8 Chief Meteorologist Ashley Brown welcomed her first child, baby Nina Simone, born in December. Right after Ashley was in a car crash, both mom and baby are thankfully doing very well.
We also want to look ahead to 2021 and the launch of an historic project here. Our owner, Dewan McCoy, is teaming up with Cox Media Group to launch the Multicultural News Network. It's part of his mission and ours to make sure every community has a place to be heard.
The beneficiaries, Brooke, of MNN is going to be all the multicultural people in America who have been voiceless on a national platform in America.
The Multicultural News Network, or MNN, will launch its news and programming in the second half of next year. The mission? Provide an unbiased national forum for the voices of America's underserved communities.
So if you are Hispanic, Black, women, Middle East descent, Asian descent, LGBTQ descent, you will now have a national platform to have your perspective on news and what's going on in America portrayed on a national basis.
MNN will feature live, daily news and other programming, much of it produced by the communities affected, giving each program an authentic voice. Why is this such an important project for you?
So this is, I have been working on this for a couple years now, but being the only African-American owner of TV stations for a while and launching news and being on every diversity board in America and participating in just about every conference in America as it relates to diversity in broadcast and media, the consensus on every panel was, why can't my perspective be heard? Okay, why can't my perspective be heard on national platforms? So for me, being the only African American and the person of color that understands distribution and understands news, I felt like it was my responsibility to give to underserved communities what they've been asking for and what I think is void in the media landscape, the national media landscape today.
The Multicultural News Network will be based right here in Indianapolis, with its headquarters in the same building that's home to Wish TV. It will also have bureaus around the country. You want this network to be for Indianapolis what CNN is for Atlanta or ESPN is for Bristol, Connecticut.
That's correct. I mean, this is, I believe, once this gets launched, this becomes a platform for the city of Indianapolis. And I'm from Indianapolis, and I can say this, Indianapolis still has the moniker of Nap Town. And I believe MNN could help change the landscape of Indianapolis and how people view Indianapolis. Atlanta took off when Ted Turner launched CNN. Bristol, Connecticut took off when ESPN launched there. So I hope and pray that MNN can have the same impact.
2020 has been an incredible year, one full of events we're likely to never forget in our lifetimes.
And we want to thank you for giving us a chance to come into your home every day and deliver the news, good and bad, and we hope you'll stay with us for years to come.
From all of us at Wish TV, have a happy new year.